The coup leader that seized control of Guinea at the weekend has lifted a curfew on mining activities in the resource-rich West African nation, while land and air borders have been reopened. Colonel Mamady Doumbouya has urged mining companies to keep operating after global aluminium prices soared to 10-year highs on fears that bauxite mining in the country would be disrupted. As Liz Maddock reports, Doumbouya has promised to set up a government of national unity to lead the transition of power.
Confusion quickly turned to celebration when it was clear the military had taken over. Guinea's first democratically elected leader has been taken into custody. They say President Alpha Conde allowed human rights violations, endemic corruption and widespread poverty. Opponents are reveling in the hope of any alternative.
We are here to show our joy because we've suffered a lot over time. We have been patient, and now God has shown us someone more powerful than the president.
Gunfire erupted near the presidential palace on Sunday and continued for several hours. Soldiers occupied the surrounding streets, sparking rumours of a military takeover. In a video released to the media, a group of Guinea's special forces announced the president had been arrested, the constitution suspended and borders closed.
We will no longer entrust politics to one man. We will entrust it to the people. This is the duty of a soldier to save his country. We are going to rewrite the constitution together, this time for all Guinea.
It's just a year since Conde won a contentious third term, after changing the constitution to allow him to stay in power. Critics say his 11-year rule failed to improve the lives of Guineans, most of whom live below the poverty line, despite the country's abundant natural resources. Guinea is one of the world's top producers of bauxite, the main mineral used to produce aluminium. Prices climbed to their highest level in more than a decade on Monday, as the unrest fueled concerns over supply disruptions. The country also has large deposits of iron ore, gold, diamonds and oil. In August, Conde hiked taxes and the price of fuel rose 20%. At the same time, he increased funding for the office of the president, causing frustration among many.
Although there was great hope during his first term, he really did not want to talk to people that had been supporting him and the democratic advances in Guinea last year, and so he had bunkered himself down, cornered himself, and I think unfortunately this might have been the reason that we've had a non-constitutional change of government here in Guinea, a coup, because the democratic process was so blocked.
It's unclear whether Guinea will slip back under authoritarian rule. It's a blow to democracy in a country with a long history of coup attempts and military power grabs, and makes Guinea the third West African nation to undergo a violent transfer of power in just 5 months. Liz Maddock, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, let's speak to Agnes Gitau in London. She's a managing partner at GBS Africa, an advisory services firm focused on Africa's economic and political risk intelligence. Good to have you back with us, Agnes. So, dramatic turn of events in Guinea. Colonel Doumbouya says his soldiers had seized power because they wanted to get rid of an administration that was rife with corruption and financial mismanagement. Is there any truth to those claims?
Correct. Oscar, you promised me that you'll bring me on when there's a positive story coming from the continent. But the coup last night in Guinea obviously brings us back to political instability, the continent, and how that impacts not just the continent itself, but the global economy, as seen by the prices in the aluminium. But yes, certainly after 11 years in power, Alpha Conde promised to get rid of corruption, promote human rights, the same things he fought for 40 years. He unfortunately never managed to do that. Guinea is still very poor, yet so rich with potential, nothing to show for it.
Yes, and President Conde was a veteran opposition leader who was first elected in 2010 in what was the country's first democratic transition of power. What sort of a leader was he, and how did he shape Guinea's economy in the time that he was in power?
So his election in 2010, it was a breath of fresh air for a country that was riddled with coup and violence. And the first 5 years, obviously, we saw an economy grow from the highs of 5% and above. He was able to restore some form of democracy. He was able to restore confidence in the investment community with investors coming to the country. But he failed to try and redistribute Guinea's wealth to the people. As you heard from the interviews there, the people were still so poor with the man they trusted, with their livelihood, a man they saw. I mean, he was nicknamed as Guinea's Mandela. That was the kind of hope the Guinean had for him. But despite some trends in economic development, economic growth, unfortunately, he hasn't really managed. He didn't manage to help the country.
One of the key components to Guinea's economy is the mining of bauxite, which is a key component and ingredient of aluminium. Aluminium is used from everything from soda cans to the cars we drive. Guinea is the world's second largest supplier of bauxite after Australia. Where do the proceeds of that lucrative mining sector go to if it isn't being distributed amongst Guinea's people?
So, like every African government that is not managed well, obviously mismanagement of the country resources meant that the wealth from bauxite went to a few pockets, and it wasn't distributed to the top million Guineans. And as you can see, the country is still very poor. They have whereas it's home to about 1.8 billion tons of bauxite. They don't have production capacity in country. Therefore, there's no value addition. So what they do is they export raw bauxite to China. China is one of the biggest export markets for Guinea's bauxite, importing about 55% of its bauxite, which obviously goes to making aluminium. But you're right, the funds obviously ends up in select few, the political elite, and not to the people.
Okay, Agnes Guitar from GPS Africa. We will have to leave it there, but hopefully, as you say, we'll be able to speak again about a more positive story. Thanks again for joining us.